eno ye Extreme Media UJ. Subscribe for all updates.
We stood before Mama Barbara Kyagulanyi and made a solemn promise. We made 3. I want to focus on the 3rd one because I think we have delivered partly on 1 and 2. I will focus on 3. The 3rd promise was a national dialogue to lay bare judiciary's role in enforcing repression. Of course, the first one was to file a suit to end the siege, which we did, working with your legal department. The second was to explore opportunities for reporting Ugandan lawbreakers abroad, which we are doing, and we shall soon reveal to the world that we haven't been sitting. So lawbreakers in Uganda, the campaign is over. We have also been cooking. We shall unseal soon a promise we made to Mama Kyagulanyi. So the 3rd one is the national dialogue, so that we can receive people's views and comments about how the judiciary and the legal profession have participated wittingly or unwittingly in enforcing repression. We've never had such a dialogue, ever. That dialogue must convene urgently and unapologetically to examine how the courts have failed to develop and to implement any meaningful anti-political persecution jurisprudence. Please give me back my 2 guests, because this was the purpose of inviting them.
Mr. President.
Give me the guests again.
The guests have been excused. They said they had other commitments differently.
No, you shouldn't have done that. You should have told me then, not now. You must learn protocol.
My apologies, Mr.
But
President.
anyway, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Put yourself back. Put yourself back. The essence of this speech and this exercise is to show you where we fail. Are you getting me? In fact, I'm pleased that they have gone, because this is how the resistance breaks. You follow, Jurua?
Yes, Mr. President.
This is how the resistance breaks. They have gone to attend to what they consider essential, and indeed it must be. They have gone to attend to what we call bones, blood, and bread. And there is no room where the resistance lands. The resistance refuses to school itself on how the repression operates. But it's okay, they can go. We have a digital platform. This is an archive. The next generation of Gen Zs, I think they will be called alphas. They will find use in what I'm to say next. But I have always insisted that the Gen Zs will not succeed because of scatterbrain like we see now. This is very important, and we must understand and pick this. So, because the goal was to ask that this dialogue cannot happen when NUP itself, which carries the mantle of leading opposition, doesn't own it. When we, the bar, have to drag them into this dialogue. Are you getting me, Jurua?
Yes.
I could be a millionaire in dollars if I don't use my youthful years dragging a lot into how to think nationally beyond the one client, but rather thousands of clients per day, per year. I had this battle with his predecessor, Wamel, who wanted to be in every court everywhere, running around like a headless chicken, saying we are paying Bakutebundi. And I said, no, Wameli, we must sit and use new tools. The government has a cyber unit. In fact, the meeting where I quarreled with Ahmed, I had been arrested May 7th. We were in the cyber crime office. And I said, look at these people. They have one branch for arresting all of us who use computers. They monitor us from here. Why don't we have a similar command center? Why don't we try maybe your law firm? Or we find a space where we say that space is the legal shrine for the resistance. And we develop soaps for it and the new thinking. Otherwise, we shall all be left to become like Kato and Kakuru. And when I see Kato and Kakuru doing those things, when I say that, you know, I will say this not to disrespect Rakafuzi, but you practicing lawyers who do that stuff, ask yourself the condition of Rakafuzi. We are taking care of him as comrades. As the bar, we recognized him. But we must understand that we are responsible for breaking him, for never having said, let us study the condition of practice for Rakafuzi exclusively. Put ourselves and stay and never leave a place until we have seen that one man, one farm can't be the clearing house for human rights for a dictatorship. It's just not practical. That person will end up in a vegetative state at some point. I saw it with Rakafuzi, I saw it with Wameri, and I told him, all my colleagues who I was practicing around, that this thing is going to eat us, all of us. So me, I'm stopping to practice law of that kind. I'm going to remove myself. You get me, Jirua?
Yes, sir.
You can. You're still young. You still like to talk to the magistrates. These are the principles. You still like to go back. I mean, I did that stuff, and I know where it ends.
Yes, please.
I know where it ends. I know where a lot will end if he doesn't think in the new format. I know. I tell him, Wameli died at 43. He died at 43 in a vegetative state because Noop sucked all energy and life out of him in one election. One election. So I hope you understand. So it's good that they go. For us, we should have this conversation. The life of others, to stop others. So we promised Mama that we will not be like others who show her that we are doing work. We are the national bar. Our response is going to be national. We're not going to fight for who tweeted what picture, who got what order. We are going to convene a dialogue to examine how the courts have failed to develop and implement any meaningful anti-political persecution jurisprudence. Anti-political persecution jurisprudence. We need one case that can give results for all. I can give you an example. In Uganda, you couldn't get bail when charged with a capital offense, except if you paid the DPP to give you a certificate of no objection until Besigye returned from exile and needed to go to the campaign. So the government lawyers had this impression that if Besigye returns, he must find that he is charged with treason and rape. That will solve the problem. That's the advice they gave the president because it was ironclad. That was the law. Charge him with these things. There is no court which can give him bail. He is not of old age. He is not suffering a condition which can't be treated in Luzira. And then he doesn't have the DPP certificate of no objection. Where will he get it? So without these three things, you could never get bail. That was the law. Ancestors had followed it. They would repeat it. So now we have this situation. Besigye comes. What happened is that Besigye was represented by the whole bar. The whole of Uganda Law Society, East, West, and Brightest, convened somewhere and agreed to fight until this law, and the judiciary did the same thing. So Justice Ogola ultimately wrote that decision called interim bail. The liberty of a man is the source of legitimacy for any judicial system. I'm going to release Besigye to the people and the state, let him do his activities. If he commits other crimes, we shall be here. But for us as a judiciary, he did like Pilato. He said, we washed our hands off it. That's it. The government was angry. It filed a constitutional reference. The case is called DPP. Besigye versus Besigye. It's filed. Can a court do that? Can a court ignore all this law and release Besigye? And of course, the Constitutional Court allowed it. Since then, that was 2005, up to 2020, 2022. That was 17 years. For 17 years, we were all arguing bail. Can I concentrate, Adam? We were all arguing bail. Adam, if you must go, go. You see, digital is not about today. Those who want to go, go. This is about a digital archive. So for 17 years, we all took bail for granted because of a site of struggle called Besigye. The Besigye site of struggle had names, including people like Justice Oscar Kihika, who later on became NRM director. It was an all political parties, all political opinions, just let us fight for liberty of fellow citizens, whether we agree with this politics or not. Now, that's how we got bail. So I look at the elite who's doing politics today, and they do not coordinate with those who don't have NUP views, and they expect to go far. They can't go far. They can't go far. What they take for granted as Uganda law was achieved through a level of thinking, a theory of change that is far more mature and longitudinal. The people who came to fight for Besigye, they were interested in something longitudinal, not the bail of that day. They were not interested in that. You see, you must understand, advocates represented Besigye in 2005 out of self-interest because many clients would come to us to seek bail, and then we have no way of giving them bail unless we can bribe the DPP. So it was in our self-interest as the bar to use the case of high profile to break an obstacle that was preventing us to earn fees on bail. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Yes. So it was our self-interest. That's why even Oscar Kihika, even Yusuf Musibambi, who has since left him, yes, it served our self-interest. We wanted to be able to charge fees for a product we can deliver. And we knew that this time the judiciary, because the international world and their eyes are on them, they will get it right. They will lift this blockade. And then we shall have a new earning stream. That's called site of struggle thinking. We don't have site of struggle thinking anymore. We like exhibitionism. We like, you know what I mean by that.
Yes.
They have been fighting. The Lotus have been fighting to remove Mufumbiro. Sometimes we keep quiet because our real views will harm them. But fighting to remove Mufumbiro, to go and vote, to go and bury, that is not longitudinal thinking. That is emotive and short-term and backward thinking. Longitudinal thinking, you ask the root cause and the net gain. And then allies, you assemble the highest number of allies so that the result is in the best interest of all, including the judiciary, which is itself under captivity. Today we attack the judiciary a lot, but we must start to even be allies, to break it into two, and so on and so forth. So anyways, that's the sort of thinking and storytelling that we want to come out of the national dialogue. Because there are many people like you, Jirua, Erotu, Shamimu, you have seen moving around, doing their very best, but they don't know events that happened 17 years ago. If we don't have memory of just 17 years ago, where are we going? We can't go far. we shall be, around Nasana. Do we think we have finished the world? So we have to forge, we need a national dialogue where we lock down people like Kelotu. We lock them down. Even if they tell them that somebody has been arrested, they can't go because they are locked down. We have locked, what we call in Gen Z speak, locked in. We must get Kelotu and Shamim and Dambasa and that Kanyu girl of guild president and close them in a room and get the Askari to take the keys, and we give them this knowledge by force. Because if they have liberty, if they have their phones, they won't learn. They will think Uganda began with them, and had no existence before them. And they'll continue to make these mistakes. And when we abandon them because we don't want to be of their level, they will think we abandoned the struggle. You follow? And then we shall have intergenerational conflicts. Yet we could have intergenerational harmony in the struggle. So this mismatch can only be broken in a national truth-telling dialogue. And as you have seen, colleagues from the council who are present, vice president can come and we have the conversation.
Mr.
Vice President, is he around?
No, he's moved out as well.
I saw him. Has moved out, yes. So, unless we have these conversations, we are going to continue doing the bare minimum. We went to court and the judge said she's busy with other cases. We went to court and this and that and that and that, and that's how we shall live out the rest of our years. On paper, we shall have done everything we did. After all this is being done pro bono. No one will want criticism. But in a national dialogue, we should be able to forge modalities of a broad coalition of democracy forces to campaign on selected sites of struggle, such as for the release of every political prisoner. No more slogans and hashtags. We agree that we are going to campaign for the release of every political prisoner. And ultimately, to retake our country from the hands of a geriatric dictatorship that has overstayed its welcome by decades. Unfortunately, most of our colleagues are into these things for objectives which are short-term and personal and transactional. And they don't want that criticism. I think NUP is now suffering a criticism that they eat money from political prisoners. How can we give them a statement of support as the bar when they're invited for a think space like this at the Law Society, they can't complete the thinking? Are you familiar, Juro?
Yes.
So that's something about. I think I wanted the vice president and any colleagues in council, if they are there, to see why we are not moving far on the dialogue. We cannot convene a dialogue where the most significant beneficiaries of the dialogue are scatterbrained, absent-minded, and difficult to pin down. By the time the dialogue, when we bring in special rapporteurs, for instance, to speak, the room will be empty. The law will be saying, I am going to parliament. The Secretary General of the political party will be saying there is something more important. I was in FDC where they are, and I had to resign because I said there's no point serving in a neck where we can't sit and complete a train of thought consistently by bringing the full weight and intellectualism of everybody in the room. Why are we supposed to succumb to the mediocrity of a few? And we call this a political party. That's why we prefer to be outside of these political parties. Because even simple things like sitting down to think conclusively, definitively, from history, from true history, not speculation, not emotion, from true history, as told to us by those who lived through the critical junctures. You follow?
Yes, please.
They've delivered us. That's the only way we can get deliverance at a broad level. So the dialogue remains a priority for the bar, but it has shortcomings that are played out very quickly. As the Radical New Bar, we have already selected specific sites of struggle to recommend to the Gen Z movement. But we cannot recommend them to an absent movement that is not represented, even in our own internal discussions. They won't own them, but for the record, we shall state it. Political prisoners sit at the center of any such program. Political prisoners should be the singular. They should get pride of place in our thinking and dedication as a collective. We should call each other in the morning to say, there's a meeting which on political prisoners, you have to come. The way we attend vigils and this and that, with their inevitability, we have to deal with this problem that way. We must, and I do know that they do deal with this, of course. I mean, they must attend to new arrests and everything and so on. But as I conclude, you will notice that the state can keep them busy at that level by
abalungi abatuuliriza era abatulaba olunaku olwaleero tuchaddeko ewa Sheikh Ashraf Dembe.
Sebo sanyusa okubalaba amannya agange nze Sheikh Ashraf Dembe akola ku bizibu by'enjawulo. Omuntu singa aba alina ebirwadde musomereddwa tumuwa amazzi ga lukuya nga bw'obadde ogalaba, tugenda abantu ku kyoto ne twokya emizimu emibi egibabaamu n'okulomba edduwa. Abantu singa abeera ng'ali wano atuuse sobola okumulombera edduwa, ne waba atatuuse nga mpadde amannya ge naye ng'ali wala maneetaaze. Enamba yange yeno eri 0701763711. Namwe bannyinaffe abali ebweru oyagala okuba nti oyagala okulombera ku dduwa ng'olina ebizibu viza zibuze amaka gakolongotana sente zikola zimpita mu ngalo, ojja kumpeereza ekifaananyi kyo n'amanyago, ebyo byokka bijja kummala, nja kulombera edduwa ojja kutereera. Olunaku olusembayo mu mwezi mba n'edduwa eyawamu ffenna n'abalwadde bange abakadde n'abapya. Salaamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.